your loan partner, Tim Lee.
And your mortgage coach, Nathan Kerpan.
Welcome to Coach's Corner. We're excited to talk a little bit this morning about AI, and it's just going to be kind of a conversation about how we both used it, successes we've had, failures, what are the dangers to it?
Yeah.
What's your experience with it thus far?
Well, that's a good point because there's so much going on with AI right now, right? It's AI this, AI that. If you're not using AI or you're anti-AI, maybe you'll find some things here that we talk about to justify your position for or against. But yeah, we've definitely run into even just a lot of fun uses of it. But like the main thing I've realized in using it is that you've got to approach it with caution, right? Mm-hmm. There's maybe the kid gloves sort of approach to AI, meaning like it's in certain topics, it can be about 90% accurate because it can go out and mine the data, but it can't discern it. And I think the biggest, thing, throwing it back to you, Tim, would be you just don't know what you don't know, and you can't trust AI to know.
Right. Well, and there's certainly a fear of the unknown as well. With the school that we work with, I know that we did some sort of AI generation on a social media post or something like that, and we actually got a negative comment from somebody saying, "I can't believe that as a school or as a Christian school, even that you would be using AI." Now, I don't know beyond that what the internal thought process was behind that. Though I've heard that may be a rabbit hole to go down, but I know there's a lot of ideas out there about AI being negative. Is it a tool that should be used? Is it something we should be teaching? And certainly those are debates that we could have, but there's problems.
I mean, these same debates were had about the very device you're watching this on, right? I mean, it really goes back. I actually was listening to was it Gary Vee this morning, and he was talking about how and this is the for and against culture, right? There's always going to be a culture who's embracing technology, and there's going to be this culture that's like holding on to their pearls.
Right.
And in Gary's example, he took it all the way back to the canvas.
Okay.
That at one point in time, artists were vehemently against painting on this modern technology known as canvas, and that it wasn't art unless they painted it on the wall of a building.
I had never heard that before.
I learned that this morning.
Right. And I was only going to take it back to the television, not even the computer. Like Google was the worst thing to ever happen to education and everything in the mid 90s.
Right.
Because now suddenly you don't need to go to the library and, and certainly there's negatives of the internet and there's negatives of all of the thing.
All can be wielded for good or
yeah, and so it's kind of like Ramsey always talks about, is a brick morally good or morally bad? And the answer is it's neither. It depends on what you use it for. So you can take bricks and build an orphanage,
right?
Or you could take bricks and throw them off the overpass and through people's windshield. Like the brick itself
By no means are we condoning.
Correct, is amoral. And he's making the equate that to money and saying money is not moral or immoral. It's what you use your money for. Tool. And it may be a motivation behind
AI is a tool.
Correct.
And so the thing that really got me going on this morning is just kind of reflecting on somebody like myself who's been in the finance business now for 26 years. I will still, it's kind of one of those things, there's the you don't know what you don't know, but there's also sometimes you've forgotten more than most people know on a certain topic,
right?
Or you just need to bounce it off of something. And that back in the day, that was the encyclopedia. Back in the day, that was we used to have these books in mortgage that literally were the Fannie Mae guidelines. Well, we haven't ordered or paid for those books to be physically delivered in probably a decade. Why? Because we go to the PDF online. I use the find feature, dare I say technology, to help me find that topic. And that's what AI is capable of doing, right? Now, I don't even have to do that. I can go into a prompt and say, hey, sound test, or not sound test, but, test this thought against the guidelines that Fannie Mae has.
Yeah.
And I even had a client recently, doing that alongside me, and she's like, "Well, I validated that the window needed to be this big and this many inches off the floor in order to be considered egress from this bedroom." Congratulations, Stephanie, if you're watching this, because you're closing today. Rock on!
All right.
But all those things going on, but at the same time, I've put in searches and I've had it go and scour that, and it spit back something, and I go, well, that here is correct, but this right here, like, I don't know where that nuance came from. And will it get better? Probably. But right now, this part, this 10% portion, totally blows everything else out of the water. And if I didn't have a background, because that's kind of what we're talking about, it's like if you don't have any somebody to come alongside you that does have that knowledge, how it actually applies in the real world, AI can take you astray.
Right. I was actually talking to a fairly prominent attorney, and they were sharing with me that with the advent of AI, that even law students were trying to use it in order to help perpetuate them quicker and faster and everything, because it's a tool. However, it was giving them bad results and hurting them because of how they were utilizing it. And so there's definitely some positives and negatives that could be now.
Well, it wants to edify you, right? We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak to that, unless you want me to. I don't
Well,
care.
I mean, it's very encouraging, right? In fact, I had to tell my chat to stop being so encouraging.
Right.
I had to tell it, like, okay, you don't have to say these things to me every time.
Right.
Like, you don't have to
You're
give me an
doing
attaboy.
such a great job.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm words of encouragement. It's too much. Like, that's one of my love languages. But long and short, and you brought up a topic earlier today.
I saw something from Dan Martell. He said if you go in Chat GPT specifically, if you go into your settings, and he had a specific prompt, so go ahead and search that. Or Dan, come on the podcast and share it with
we'll have you on as guest.
But to put this into your settings, and it kind of at least minimizes that kind of like rah, 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 and a little bit more, not contrarian, but kind of more of a pressure test. And so what I have found in my use of it is that I use it as kind of a sparring partner on ideation.
Yep.
And so in doing so, again, it helps brainstorm, which is what chat is really good for. I know there's other platforms that are better for other aspects. Chat GPT is really good for brainstorming. And so to kind of flesh out an idea and build it. And then what I have learned through my process is once I've kind of got it where I feel like it's pretty good, then I say, now you need to pressure test it essentially as a contrarian. I don't want it to be the defense attorney without thinking through what the prosecuting attorney would be bringing to the table to say, okay, and now this idea may be a great idea.
Right.
It may also just be telling me that because it's my idea.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just trying to sort of bias. Right. It's
Correct.
got a confirmation bias. And let's face it, when you are either ideating or pressure testing something or even researching, you don't want just one side. Like, I think that's an unhealthy way to go around life, let alone, you need to consider how both what's being taken in, but also how it's being received by the other party, if it's something that's, going to be used with people. And then the other aspect of AI and real estate, and this was something fun, again, brought to me by a client, actually. We were just chit-chatting about the idea, and she goes, oh, no, here. And the idea was how to actually see the home as yours, like how to use AI and the visual tools that it can do and the artistry of sorts, of how it can generate and rework an entire room. And we were talking about that with a client at closing recently, and she goes, oh, no, I already did this. She goes, I took a picture off of the Home Depot's website of the colors I wanted, or in this case, it was even a wallpaper backdrop.
Okay.
I think wallpapers, like accent walls,
Yeah.
is kind of having a resurgence in some cases. And she literally took a picture of, and this wasn't a picture of hers, she took the picture of the listing and said, okay, take this room, take this image, and put that wallpaper on that wall.
Right.
Step 1. Step 2, now put in a rectangular dining room table with a rug, with, all these different things going on. And she showed me the different pictures, and she's like, yeah, this is exactly how I want my home to look, and this is in that space. I'm comfortable with this. And that wasn't just one. We had a whole nother one where the client then took and said, well, she was like dissing the house she was buying. She's like, I really don't like its curb appeal, but here's what I did. And she changed and added a front porch, just one of those little stoops, over the front door. Yeah. It was very flat and bland, just had some steps.
I know the kind of house you're talking about.
Right, pretty typical.
It needs a little bit of depth as well.
It was a very square. We joke, Jen and I call our house originally the brown shoebox, because I think we were fortunate. And hey, realtors, I hope you're listening as well, because these are ideas your clients are using with or without you.
Right.
But like, our house became our house because the photos were so bad.
Ditto.
Our house became our house because it looked like a brown shoebox until you got to the third picture. And the third picture showed all the opportunity it had from behind the home and the forest and all the different things. And beautiful thing is today, the people that used to live in our home years ago, they came by and they're like, did you just tear it down and build something totally new? And we're like, nope, here's the transition. And they're like, wow, we had no, and let's face it, right? A lot of us in the world just don't have the vision, right? So AI can supplement and augment, right, our struggles with vision. And that's a lot of couples, right? There's one of you that's maybe visionary, one of you that's like, hey, I'm going to get it done. And that applies to home ownership. It applies to finance. Kind of as a coach, I'm the visionary of finance, so I can see around corners. Said to my son this morning, I said, hey, 20-year-old son, right? So you're like, okay, let's do this. And I'm like, hey, Dominic, calling you out, shout out to Dominic. I just can see around corners that you don't know are there yet.
Right.
And I'm not trying to leave out steps, but I'm also I'm kind of around the other side of the building.
Yeah, see further than he sees as a 20-year-old young man.
And that's what a guide,
that's and that's what a dad is supposed to do. So,
thank you.
Well, bringing it back to AI and kind of closing out this segment, I don't think that people should be afraid of it. There are different ones, and they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Like the advent of AI is upon us. So either you kind of get on board at least a little bit, or
I like listening to records still.
Okay.
Every once in a while, right? I bought my daughter a record player, but it's just not. There's certain attributes of that work still. There's certain attributes that paper right here, pen and paper will matter. There's maybe going to Google, or maybe you're still using Netscape Navigator from the 90s.
Right.
But the truth is, we're all going to progressively, there's a point in time where not everyone was like, oh, I'm never going to have an iPhone. Well, guess what? Look in your pocket, right? I'm never going to have a smartphone.
All right. Well, there's a lot more to cover on this topic, and I'm sure we will discuss it further. But my takeaway would be, don't fear it.
Yeah.
Play with it a little bit, and when you use the image, you probably are going to end up with an extra arm or something like that in those.
I had 3 hands in one of the images I made the other day. And how did that end up? Where did the third hand come from?
Right.
So yeah, pay attention to those things. Trust but verify. And again, with technology, any technology, leverage technology to enhance relationships. So leverage it in a way that it can actually make you more present, more of a guide, and more with your friends and family.
It's a tool. It will cut down time significantly if you use it right.
Yeah.
And that should, if you use your time right, open up those other opportunities for you to live life in a more meaningful way. And hopefully that's present with your family, that type of thing.
Go.
So,
well, thank you for joining us. And should you need a guide, both in a loan partner and a coach, we're here at Benchmark and the Kerpan Group to serve. And you can get a hold of us at 314-551-9587. Call, text, technology, or feel free to go online to benchmarkmidamerica.com.